Hey guys, welcome to the 7th episode of Famous Last Words. My name's Evan DeGraff. I'm your host for today. I've been the host of every single Famous Last Word, so I guess that's not a big surprise. But I have a very special guest that will be joining me today. But before I get into that, we're gonna to be announcing some of the things that we've been going on this week. First, on Wednesday, Chris Clark is doing his next episode of Suddenly Soundtracks with Robert Meyer Burnett, the guy who's been burning the Schmodown alive, which I'm thankful for, and also community leader Kristen Smith. And if you know anything about Kristen, she's great, and we love Kristen. And Singing in the Rain's a great musical, and I'm glad they're going to be talking about it because pop off. Next, the first brand new episode, the series premiere of Front Center Menazine, is being premiered with host Maxwell Haddad and PJ Campbell. They're talking with Preston Max Allen, who is a writer out in Broadway. And they'll just be sitting down and talking with him kind of about his Broadway productions and just kind of like what he's about, which is actually really interesting for a premiere, and having someone who's like that on the show, I think is actually like really endearing. And then Friday, hold on to your butts. We're finally doing it. It's the 4th week of Rian Johnson month. We're watching Star Wars: The Last Jedi. I am as nervous as everyone else about this watch on for obvious reasons, but keyword but I'm also really excited because I think this movie is great, especially in retrospect with what has come out. I think it's done a lot of good for cinema. Maybe it's split up film Twitter in ways that we didn't expect, but that's okay. We need those splits. We need people to have those rude awakenings. So I'm really excited to get down to that. Saturday is family game night. Make sure you guys are there for that. And then Sunday, and PJ Campbell show. And then last but not least, Monday, we're watching Atlantis: The Lost Empire. Never seen this movie. I know people love it to death. But without further ado, I'm going to stop yapping my mouth. We have our guest, Johnny Youngblood.
I feel so low pro your other guests. Like, this is great.
No. I this is not. I never would say that. I think your impact, whilst you don't have the biggest following, is always big. And you and I have gone extensive into this. I think it's weird. Every time you say something, the community shakes and makes no sense. Like, they can calm down, but the impact is there. Anyways, welcome to the show. I guess we can talk about this now. The second we announced you being on the show, as we said, 4 other people contacted you. You don't have to out them, but like, it's kind of obvious. Like, there's a reason you're here.
I'm excited. This is going to be fun. I haven't done a podcast it's been 2.5 years. So apologies while I get the rust off while I try to figure this out again. But no, I'm so down. This is definitely coming back to your show specifically is exactly how I'd want to do this. So I'm in.
I mean, well, okay. In all fairness, you and I have always had this really chaotic nature. Just when it comes to our like little fun friendship relationship or whatever, very chaotic, just going in the heads. Because I think we see things pretty similar for the most part, outside of just like a few ignorancies that I have or even you have. Like, we both see things pretty similar, but we just have 2 different approaches. Like,
yeah,
you are very methodical. You're willing to take someone down. Where I'm very chaotic, but I'm not willing to really take someone down. Like,
until it turns into a tweet. Did we lose each other?
You froze so hard. You froze so hard.
Sorry. I'm sorry. Blame CenturyLink. They'll never sponsor you.
Sorry, what were you saying? You're good. I think it's funny.
Oh no. Oh, I just said that you keep it pretty chill until you drop a 10-tweet long thread and then just cause nothing but fires for a few days. Like, you know.
Dude, it's so funny. I don't want to get too deep in this. This will be like a different conversation where I think I have someone interview me, because I think maybe we should do that. I don't know. But practically, I now have people who are thinking about doing the same and like raising their voices about different things in different communities. And I think I'm glad that if anything, I helped made people feel a little more confident about their voice and their ability to speak loud, you know? So there's that. But this isn't about me.
The big reason why I left a movie community is because there's so little accountability. And I appreciate when folks like you speak up, because if no one's going to watch and keep people in check, then we kind of have to do it ourselves.
which we'll get into that later in the show. But something that you and I talked about, which I think it's interesting that no one has talked to you about this, because not that it's like you and as a person, but it's a pretty big thing. You're adopted. I
I
don't know
am.
exactly how or what, but Johnny Youngblood, you and yourself were adopted. Can we just like, I don't know where to start with the story because I don't know much about it other than your parents are super white and are super Southern, but not Southern. They're just super Minnesotan.
Yeah, so it's been this a weird thing that you're right, no one really talks about it because honestly I don't talk about it a whole lot. It's something that I'm still in therapy. So there's so many dynamics that come from not really knowing and not having that. Everyone has that point where they can be like, yeah, I get this from my family. Yeah, just going to like vamp and make sure you can still hear me. Yeah, we're good.
We're
Cool.
good.
Um
It happens. It's fine.
no, no, you're good. I just want to make sure that we don't have to retread things. Like I said, I'm getting used to this again.
Yeah.
But no, not having that point of reference is tough because aspects about myself that I'm still learning. Every time I go to the doctor's office and they ask me for my family history, I'm just like, shit if I know. So I was adopted when I was 6 months, so really young, which means that on one hand, I don't have a lot of the foster trauma that a lot of folks in the adopted community have. But on the other hand, I have a different type of baggage and weight and trauma that comes from just having no perspective and having no real grasp. I have no memories. The only things that I have are things I've cobbled together from pictures. And even that's super limited. I know very limited details about why I was put up for adoption, and which at my weakest moments wrecks my mental health because, as beautiful a system as adoption can be, there always is a very world chose to not keep you.
Yeah,
which is tough, and it's.
I think what's interesting about just the process in general, I've talked a little bit about this, but like I'm very familiar with the process. I have a lot of friends who've adopted and stuff, so I'm familiar. I don't know everything. Is that you still, not you specifically, but a lot of the kids still have to like see their old parents, their biological parents, or they still have to go through the whole process of like, this is now the chance. But here's the thing: even if you're adopted at birth, you still have that underlying question, who am I? And especially like some of the friends who I've talked to, they always struggle with that, which is fair. I get it. So
I have empathy for folks who got to know their birth parents and their foster parents, because I know my own struggle with finding an identity and really bonding with figures and having a choice and having like two options that are both present in your life. That is a level of pain and a level of just feeling lost that I empathize with so much, because it's an element of the process that I'll never really know, but I can kind of.
Right. You froze again. This is great. Great content.
I really need better internet. This is ridiculous. This is on my agenda for moving forward. I didn't know how bad it was until just now.
No, you're good. I don't hate. I can't. Funny story. When I was in Tallahassee, we were doing a bunch of streams, and I will always glitch out like right at the end of the watch lawns. And you know how I do all the plugs, like how I just did. That's my job on the watch lawns. I do all the plugs, and at the last minute, I would always just end up skipping out for whatever noise reason. But I'm in Tampa at the moment because my family's here, and they wanted me home for a while. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm coming home. But anyways, yeah. So when you're adopted, you've always grown up with the same parents, and you've never had that like uneasy, weird relationship, like with the facts that you had your biological parents tearing at you, right? You never had that.
No.
Okay. So then, like, moving forward from there, like, what you don't have to get too deep into it because obviously a lot of it's personal, but like, what was your relationship with your adopted family like? Or obviously not everything's perfect because every family is different, but
Yeah.
what's like the
Yeah.
takeaway, or like growing up, what were things like? There we go.
Yeah. So I think that growing up, it click for long periods of time. Like my adopted family is white, and when I was young and naive, didn't really affect me. There were some weird moments, weird what certain racial slurs mean, that sort of thing.
Right.
But the older I get, and the older I get, I say at 25, on things like the importance of advocacy, especially as a person of color, and the importance of using what limited platform I might have to speak for the embetterment of conditions for marginalized communities. The more that imposter syndrome kicks in, and the more that I realize how much privilege and how much benefit I received from growing up in a predominantly white family,
Right.
in a very white area, in a middle class setting, and the more it eats at me sometimes because I feel like I of an importance of a voice as so it's dang.
Freaking Roscoe.
It's been hard.
Yeah. Just really quick, Roscoe dropping the bomb. Clicked on the new famous last words episode, and somehow met a Facebook tutorial video at support. You know what? You're not wrong, but we're gonna get into that later. But yeah, I get that.
I've gained a lot of weight since that one, so like.
But you know what you know what's funny about all that though, was that like when we were at when we at Florida State, I'm part of the movie theater and we help program films, but we did something called the
Yeah.
Black Directors Film Festival. We do it every spring. Not gonna at the person. I'm not gonna at who they are, but we had this woman who's Haitian. I think she was a senior at the time, and she was taking the lead for running the festival, helping program the films. The issue is she grew up in a predominantly white community, like upper middle class, and like and it raises the question, like, do you actually connect? Are you actually like able to take lead in all this? So not that I understand imposter syndrome, but like I've seen examples of it, and like it sucks like when you feel that way, or even if you're able to see it, because it's really hard to call out, and it's really hard to actually like cope with it because it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Something that I've come to grips with is that there's no more important quality when it comes to advocacy than humility. And at the end of the day, good intentions don't count for shit. Like, no matter how much you want to make a difference, no matter how well you approach the dialogue in terms of your own inner thoughts, you need it, no matter where to do it, or it's not going to work. So it's become taking a heavy dose of realism into my situation and being.
And I think what's really interesting about the humility things, we're all gonna mess up. Like I'll be honest, I've definitely messed up, like in terms of like obviously not anything openly racist or openly sexist, but like things are like you probably shouldn't say that. And it takes like it takes those really hard conversations to be like, yo, I really did mess up and I'm sorry. And like just even saying that will further one extend your character, but also have other people trust you more and what message you're trying to send. And like, oh, you know, having good intentions doesn't mean shit, but if your character is good and like what you're trying to say is a good thing, then your good intentions will mean something down the line.
Yeah. And it takes having people around you who are willing to call you out for stuff, which is I think the hardest part for a lot of people is it's so, especially in insular communities, thanks to just the way that social media algorithms work, it's so easy to surround yourself with people who aren't going to call you out for things because peer pressure is hard.
Right.
But having people willing to say, "Hey, that wasn't right," is vital.
And I think we'll get into that in about like another 15 minutes or so, because I want to spend a little bit more time kind of like on the whole idea of like how you cope today with adoption. Like, I remember you telling me at one point that like things were good with your family, but you've almost like, and I could be wrong at this point, maybe I'm misquoting, but you came to this weird inner peace of like realizing, yeah, my parents are this way. However, I am so fortunate that like they're able to do this for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Am I quoting you correctly here?
That's a good distillation. Like I'm so grateful to my family, and I go being out of the house and dealing with stresses and understanding what bills are, and just trying to be an adult. The more I realize how tough it must have been on the other side of things too, and I certainly have my gripes with how my family handles certain things and still do or did, but I also am learning that uh,
Jonathan Youngblood, everyone. Sorry, Johnny Youngblood, everyone. Freaking frozen as a rock. Things you love. Oh, loading. This is great content, everyone. Black screen. Johnny Youngblood. How you doing?
Completely. Hello.
Yeah, there you go.
I just reprogrammed everything with our internet connection today to try to get this to be better, and apparently it didn't work. This is great. I feel like I'm friggin' coming at you from like dial up.
No, look, and here's the funny part. I probably should care, but I really don't, because like at the end of the day, we're still like making whatever 2 viewers on an episode. Like, not that I'm adding Roscoe and Mike, but it's chill to me. Like, this is supposed to be for fun anyway, so I'm not like stressed. That's right, I said it on air. We do it live, bitches. But so I think the other thing that I think I wanted to talk about, like when it comes to circa all the adoption stuff, is like, how do you deal with the day to day and like realizing, or like you talk to someone and you realize that they're adopted, or you have a conversation and they talk about their experience with their parents, but you never like actually like have that experience either, though, because like obviously your parents don't look like you. Like, what? Obviously the day to day is a little bit different. Like, even just in normal life, what's the big takeaway from all of that? If that's a really weird question, but I hope that makes sense.
No, yeah, I get what you're going with that. It's something that certainly occurs to me a lot, and it's something that I've grown more comfortable bringing up in conversation. A lot of the time, it presents itself in have a place in the dialogue.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of securities that come with that have been a lot to handle, and
Right.
it's so foundational to who I am that it's hard.
So we're gonna.
So I guess my answer is I don't have a good answer yet because I don't know.
That's fair. I get it. That's fair, because it's true. It's like it's an everlasting adventure as I'm watching Avatar: The Last Airbender, like rediscovering everything about what the meaning of life is, slowly but surely. But moving on, through all of this, you ended up becoming a movie fan. Now, tell me. And I think I know the answer to this question, so I'm gonna like have you correct me on this. I think due to the facts that you are so far removed from your own culture is wrong, I think, but your own identity almost, that you needed another place to sink yourself into, and it ended up being film for a little bit. Not for as long extensive as others, but like that became one of your outlets.
If I had $1 for every time everyone assumes that, I'd be very rich. And it's funny because it's absolutely not true.
Let's go. That's so good. Tell me.
I have the dumbest story of inroads into movie fandom because I became a fan of shows about movies before I became a big fan of movies.
Same.
My family is super conservative, so I grew up not really watching anything. I had I've seen National Treasure 50 times, but I also like just watched Jurassic Park like in the last year. So I jumped into a bunch of YouTube shows because my best friend at the time was a huge fan of stuff like at that time AMC Movie Talk and that sort of stuff. And I kept on hearing news
How the
come
mighty
out,
have
and
fallen.
I know, right? I heard stories about how excited people were, and passion, and how much people loved it. And I was like, I'll figure this out. So I started watching movies and bought like 100 DVDs my sophomore year of college off Amazon and just binged. And that was how it started. It wasn't until I was about 16 that I really started watching movies. So I'm very relatively new to all of this because which is why I have such weird blind spots in my movie watching filmography, because some stuff I just didn't grow up with that other people did.
I don't
still
think
haven't
you
seen The
realize
Goonies.
how lost I am due to the fact that like you became like a movie fan probably 16, yet you still have like the we're gonna get there soon, but the impact, like the stature that you have in the smaller community, which is, we're gonna get there. But what's funny about it is I think you know this, I didn't become a movie fan until the freshman year of high school. It was once Whiplash dropped, because Alicia Malone and Amy Rose Eisenbach talked about it on AMC Independent. I think it was J.K. Simmons, because I loved him from the Spider-Man movies. I'm like, okay, great. I dragged my dad out to come see it with me because it's rated R, and I'm like, I can't see this movie. And ever since then, Daddy Chazelle got me hooked. Which I love that guy.
I think I'm basic, and I think my inroad was Nolan. I'm pretty sure that once I saw Inception, I think that was a big point for me, where I was like, cool, there's depth here that I need to figure out. And then I bought his filmography, and I think Nolan was the first director I watched everything he ever made.
Nolan's a weird one, man. Like Nolan and Tarantino are the two I'm on. I'm like, do I like your movies or do I not? I really don't know. Every time I watch them, I have a different opinion coming out. Like, not even like a new outlook on the film, but rather like, I don't know how I feel about it anymore. Because like, there's so many inconsistencies in them, and I'm just like, give me something to work with here. Like, especially if it takes something like Interstellar, even the newest one, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, for me, just like they're just so inconsistent. I'm like, give me something to work with.
Every time I watch people like Nolan and Tarantino, I feel like I'm revisiting a childhood favorite, and the nostalgia slowly peels away. So I feel that a lot.
So then, with that, what shows? Ryan says, I mean, they're pretty good movies. So hey, I mean, yeah, it really depends. And then and Mike goes, it's funny how pretty much all of us have the same film fan origin story. I think it really depends on where you are in the community and kind of like how you function in the community. So you're talking about how you're watching a bunch of these shows. What shows, other than AMC, obviously, like were you like falling hard for? Because I know your face ended up on Screen Junkies, which is a whole different thing.
So Schmoes Know was my first entrance. I think it was right around Toad Hop days that I started really following Schmoes. From Schmoes, I found Screen Junkies. And yeah, I think at one point I had seen, I can't say this anymore because now they've done the weird like revamp, but I've watched every Schmoes show up until then. And yeah, it was a fun ride. I was never the most socially skilled person, so watching people just sit around and be friends was how I learned how to people a little bit. So I definitely I miss those days. Those were fun.
Were they just like where you just get blasted on air and it's fine? Like, it's totally acceptable to like be drinking with your friends and just doing dumb shit. Like, I think, not to get too boomer-esque, but like my favorite was when they got into the AfterBuzz Studios, and all the segments were there. It
Yep.
was like really well shot, but all the fun was still there, like you would have Finstock
Yeah.
doing Finstock, which whatever you think about Tom Dagnino, it's a different conversation, but you had him doing him. You had Knapsack doing his stand-up comedy, but live, talking about movie news, it was just one of those things where you're like, this is nice. This
Yeah.
is my Thursday nights.
Yeah. It was so refreshing. It was a consistent thing in my life that I knew no matter how I was feeling would make me laugh at some point. And if I hadn't laughed by the time I got to the news, I knew I would. So yeah, I learned so much about movies and comedic timing and just how fun community can be from Schmoes. And
Right.
from Schmoes, it's how I found at that point Sadamco, which later became Movie Talk by Movie Fans. Shout out Mike K. Actually, like all my favorite movie folks are in chat right now. So hey, Mike and Ryan and Rasika, like yo.
Wait, what is Sadamco? I don't know this.
That was before your time. Yeah, Sons and Daughters of AMC Online Originals. Like the old days. I right when I first joined the team was when they were changing like the structure of that.
So I guess we'll get into it now. Something to know about you is you are a prestigious is wrong because I don't want to like hype you up too much, but like you're a very sought after, like your stature in the film community is present because of your time when you were an admin. I think you still are. I'm unsure. When you're an admin of Movie Talk by Movie Fans.
Yep.
How did all that come about? Who invited you? Why did they think you're a good voice, and what makes you important in all this?
If I remember correctly, I think there was some sort of an argument that happened, and I came at it with an out of character level head. And one of the admins at the time approached me, who's no longer with the team, but yeah, shout out, and was like, "Hey, do you want to jump in?" And I said, "Yeah," for some reason. So at that point, I joke that I learned about movies by reading Wikipedia, and it's only mildly untrue. So I did a good job of pretending to know what I was talking about, but I quickly realized I was out of my depth when I was joining teams of people who watched like 250 new releases every year. Right. So it was a struggle to catch up with all of that. But no, Mike, actually, after Micah Harshaw left, I think I was part of the replacement team for when Micah left the team. Shout out Micah, really cool dude. But yeah, it was a fun time. It was a really fun time. And I think that more importantly than learning about movies, I learned about what it took to be a leader, mostly by falling on my face. But I messed up so many different ways.
You did that from time to time, and that's okay because I've done it too.
Yeah.
Where you just falling on your face, either by saying something you didn't mean or taking things out of context. But I think so the only reason that our paths crossed was because I became an MTS admin and also I think became a moderator of Schmoes No back when that was a group. I don't know if it still is. Rasika, fill me in. But and then at some point I decided to join the Forbidden group, which at the time it became Forbidden. At the time, Movie Talk by Movie Fans got really bad.
Okay, so I will defend the honor of Old School Movie Talk.
You will, which
Old
is fine.
School Movie Talk became a bad group because we didn't put up with the same kind of shit that places like Schmoville would. And we came down harder on folks who were being like overly... the reason why I almost got kicked out of Schmoville was because I was calling someone out for fat shaming in Schmoville, and they got the ad. So, like, I will say that that Movie Talk by Movie Fans back then was way tight about a lot of things and way too overly passionate about certain social causes. But these were the days of like Ghostbusters reboot. And the line from our perspective was that Schmoville was where you went if you were like a white Republican.
See, that thinking's wrong because
it totally was, 100% was, but it was why a lot of us got kicked out. Was because we were trying to get people to stop. Hot take: if you're in a fandom, that's supporting people like Finstock, folks who care about marginalized communities might not feel at home.
So okay, but here's the thing, and I don't want to like bring up Shmovo anymore because like I get it, but I vehemently disagree on that, on what happened then, and maybe your take on it now.
Oh
But
yeah,
I think the
we
main
were
issue,
wrong. We straight up were, but like we also weren't totally wrong.
it's weird. It's a really weird balance, and the group's obviously not alive now. So it's like it's like spitting on like someone's grave, you know.
And I miss Schmoville, man. Like there was a good period of time where I preferred it to the groups that I was adminning, and it really turned around like right around the time when we started talking. But
yeah. Okay, hold up, Roscoe,
yeah.
text me the name really quick. Text me the name because I don't know. But
I remember.
I don't. So, but okay, here's the thing with, I think that in your biggest struggle with movie talk, my movie fans, and I think we should get into like the intricacies of what it takes to run that many people. Is one, the sole number of people, and two, technically the fandoms that they were a part of, and the fact that it was a bigger umbrella for multiple fandoms.
Yeah.
And so when we get into that, what do you think when, because the admin team was huge, but I think a big flaw, I'm really not trying to take shots at you, I think that's just like conversation. A big flaw that happened was you guys became unwilling to like add new voices and new perspectives into your team.
That's true.
And what happens is, not that it became an echo chamber, but like things started like, you know, just became bouncing off of each other's walls. But when you specifically try to handle a lot of people, because you did, you would give big statements to like groups of people for doing something wrong. Oh my god, I can't delete the comments here, Rossica. God damn it. So I have to go over to youtube.com for this. But how is your perspective on handling arguments or racism within movie groups? Like what would you try and do that either made yourself different or even the same along like other admins and stuff?
So there's two parts to that question. What did I do and what would I do now? That are both, I think, important. I think if I had to call out why I personally failed pretty hard while I was trying to run Movie Talk, it was largely just that I wanted to fit in, and I felt like the only way for me to do that was by being the biggest voice in the room, which was so wrong of me. I was 21 at the time, 21, and was still trying to figure out how to make people like me. And I found out that an easy way to do that was to be way too dramatic about things, because it carries well over social media and it makes people feel like you have the biggest dick in the room.
Well, you had this weird thing where you would use big words, which you're an English major, right?
Yeah.
But you would use big words to try and defeat people in argument. It's something that another person in this community does. And at the end of the day, like, it works. I'm not gonna drop the name. Just use your head. It's like you want to be only people who I complain about. Come on, be smart. But and like it just sounds condescending versus like actually trying to like explain a certain situation. But it works though. Like that's the weird part. It worked.
Here's the thing that I've learned about that. In Movie Talk, something that we prided ourselves on being a place where people could talk, and we were, but we also had very distinct things that we didn't want people to say. And rather than do the ballsy thing as a leader and actually have restrictions on what people could say, we found that it was easier, like intellectually and emotionally, just to make people feel dumb or shout them down, which was something that I was very good at. And to be frank, is when the moment that I realized why that was so wrong of me was the moment I started butting heads with prominent figures in the other group that did the same thing.
Wait, After Dark or Schmoville?
No, Schmoville. That was a very strong subtweet. Somebody who I was subtweeting there.
Oh yeah, I know. Got it.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
That took a second.
I realized too late, and it took a lot of conversations with people like Ryan in chat to realize I wasn't that smart, that I needed to calm the fuck down about things, and if I was going to dialogue about something, actually do it, or admit that I just found something reprehensible and leave it at that. Because not having the guts to stand up for what I believed in and instead trying to direct dialogue away from it was cowardly of me, because I didn't want to dive too deep into something. So I don't think that issue extended to the rest of the team, and we could dive into why Movie Talk by Movie Fans isn't dead, but we could dive into why that happened. But for me, the reason why I pulled away from it was I realized it was just feeding my ego, and it was doing so in an unhealthy way, because I had established myself as something that I wasn't anymore, and I just couldn't stop it because it was what people expected of me. So I just kind of left. I stopped paying attention because I only knew at that point in time how to talk about things in a certain way, and I realized I needed to reframe things, which was right around when After Dark started, which kind of helped me figure out how I was going to do things moving forward, and then I moved on to other things. But yeah, I learned
After
the hard
Dark
way.
Might have been your best idea, best or worst idea I think you might have had.
Oh, it definitely, but yeah, for sure.
That group in
I'm so glad that I did it, but I also regret it so much.
Like, if you check in that group like a little bit every now and then, it's like it was at first it's really wholesome, yet like Big Brother-esque group, which was really healthy, especially for what was needed at the time. I think what would have been really smart is setting like a 6-month deadline on it. This group exists for 6 months. Make it what you will. What I really enjoyed about it though was it gave people platforms like me a chance to go after people, which I probably shouldn't have. But I think for whatever reason, there was so much like weird tension in Movie Talk by Movie Fans, where like people felt the need to like yell at each other through a keyboard. But if you could do that somewhere else, where it's almost like more healthy, like where it's a place where it's supposed to happen, people almost come at it softer. Take me like through the process and thinking like the evolution of how that happened, and almost the positives and the negatives of running an After Dark group, and what you would maybe do differently now.
I think that the reason we started it was largely just because we needed an escape pod. We had people that we didn't want to lose connection with, that we had to, if we were to distance ourselves from the group.
Wait, so, in all fairness, I remember this. I was being a dick, and I think I'm like a 2% of the reason this group started. Someone would put in so many memes into the main group. I'm like, I'm tired of memes. And but it gave that person another place to put memes.
I remember that fight. That was one of the first big blowups of After Dark. That was a you definitely fucked that one up.
No, that's why we now had After Dark.
No, I'm half joking. Cosign Ryan, Ryan and Kay, the main group is not something that I frequent. I still check After Dark every day. I just usually don't say anything. So when we created that, we wanted a place where we didn't have to, because we were all burning out. We were all burning out hard because
and you guys right then too, I think something really important to note, you guys created a whole task force team to try to improve Movie Talk by Movie Fans. And I remember yelling at you because I for some reason I felt like I had the ability to, which I guess I could now. I don't know, for it being a dumb idea and doing it wrong. And After Dark is what you guys came out of it. So then you guys create After Dark. Sorry, I just wanted to add to the note that like if anyone like needs any context about mine and Johnny's relationship, I just yell at him sometimes, and it goes vice
Yeah,
versa.
yeah, I've realized that you can actually take it, so it's just fun because I
Yeah.
can make fun of you and you realize I'm not being serious. Yeah, creating After Dark was a weird decision because I think we all wanted to try and possibly hot take, but at this point in time, I don't believe that it's possible to maintain a healthy community surrounding something as universally loved as movies. I think that the just the level of community that exists there and just the size of it and how many different people come at it from different takes, I don't think it's possible to keep something going for longer than say 5 years without it turning toxic unless you're either extremely fascist about how you run rules or you're completely like hands off, people can say whatever they want, and then either way it just becomes possibly worse. So
Especially like if you're to look at Ryan's comment, our admins and movie top movie fans also fought a lot for those who didn't know. And I remember this really vividly because I was badgering you about becoming a mod because I thought I had some really good ideas. And you're like, this isn't gonna work. The vote's gonna go 50-50, and that means you won't be able to be on. And it never got there. Which
technically the vote did happen and it did go 50-50. I knew my team.
damn, I really do split people like that. Shit.
It was straight up
Michael
50-50.
K. I even fought for Evan as a mod. I think my issue was I like to come in hot fast. But at the time it was for good reason. Like the person who I was then had very good reason for it. Whenever I think you know this now, whenever I see a problem, I just want to go to it and get it done. Like, let's clean this up. Doesn't seem too hard. And if you take groups like MTS, which that group peaked, I want to say 2018, 2017, in comparison to what it is now. But we had a whole thing with like our head admin and just a monster mess. But I remember being at the core too. Oh, thanks, Mike. And I remember being at the core of like trying to like set things up and like, and so like my whole pitch to you, but I don't think the rest of the team got was like, I've done this elsewhere.
Yep.
But you guys need someone who is young and hot to like fuck up some shit. You know?
Here's the thing that I'm not going to say that either of our approaches are better or worse, but the difference between how you and I approach things is that you jump into things and it makes you really effective in certain situations, but you also never really earned your stripes.
Right.
And I always take way too long to earn my stripes and end up boxing myself into a corner. So it's a weird dynamic that it's why for a lot, because in movie talk, a big thing that we had was like if we asked someone to join the team, 9 times out of 10 it was because they had like we'd seen them do a lot of stuff, and having this hot shot come in and be like, no, I know exactly what needs to be done, wasn't gonna fly. And if I've ever gotten mad at your approach to things, it's because that drives me nuts. Because I'm like, no, kid, calm down. It's okay. Like, give it a couple months. You'll get there. And then you give up because you're like, no, this isn't worth it.
Well, I think what's really funny about that though was I feel like I earned my stripes, but everyone saw earning stripes in a different way. Like I'm like, I've done this here, here, and here.
Yep.
And I've always and even if you look at me now, I've always been like fresh perspectives are super important. And I've always been a big propagator of adding someone in new, especially if like we have someone who's not older, but like older in the community that their time's up, up. Everyone has a time limit in this, sadly. As shitty as that sounds, for the most part, it's true. Even if you're looking
at reference, that's not my perspective anymore. Like that was definitely what I was operating under then, but that's I've definitely moved away from that way of looking at things. But
what do you mean?
That was I kind of stopped focusing so much on people like putting time in, and even on myself putting time in. And I started to realize that you're right. Like you need new voices, and you need to be able to quit when you need to. It took a lot of times where I should have quit a lot earlier happening, but I started to realize the value in what you were saying there. I like to think that I'm kind of halfway between we both were, which has been good.
I think we've both kind of halfway grew in our own different ways, which is weird because I would even argue our paths in the community and kind of like how we've almost halfway paralleled each other are very similar. Yet ever since, I would say, which I'm gonna read out the donation now, Michael K. Donated $20.16. Shout out to the best and the worst year of our film community. Ever since then, it's like this really weird divergence that happened because you and I, because I was running MTS, not running it, I was part of a team, and I also was helping out with Schmoville. My dumbass was like, let's try and clear whatever bridge it was because I was ignorant of it. I was just annoyed because you were my friend. Roscoe was my friend. And Michael's just Mike. Love you, Kay, but you're just Mike sometimes, right? I'm going to at you. And I was like, why is there this animosity? And then I remember I threw us all in a chat. This is going to be so weird for whoever like goes back and listens to this episode without any context.
Yeah, this is the most niche thing I've ever done. Like, my God.
And like I feel so awful for whoever like goes back in this episode and gets context. But like Schmoville had, I think it was like 15K it capped at, but like a group with 15,000 different people in it. MTS had like 19,000 different people in it. MTS Movie Talk Movie Fans at the time I think had 25, almost reaching 30 at some points.
I think you're overestimating by about 5K, but I could be wrong. It's been 3 years.
But you get the idea. They were all huge groups, like especially in the space. And my dumbass was like, okay, let's throw all of these community leaders in one group chat and try and figure out what the hell is going on. And man, did that blow up in my face.
I did not remember that I mentioned it, and now I'm just like, oh God, yeah, that was one of the reasons I stopped. Like, that was one of the biggest reasons why I realized that I was done, because I didn't. I say I here. Movie Talk by Movie Fans succeeded not because of me. Like, there were so many really talented people we had on the team. I'm saying I here because I'm the only one from that team on this show right now. But I want to give credit where credit is due, because it was a massive group effort, and at the end of the day, we did something incredible. Like, uniting a group of thousands was impressive. But I realized right around that point in time, and it was a combination of a lot of things, but especially watching the fandoms that started the group go directions I didn't like, and watching the group itself go directions I didn't like, and watching just people that I liked and cared about tearing each other apart. Some ways because I started a ball rolling, just it killed me inside, and I was just like, this isn't helping anyone. This is the number of people that this is giving a safe place to, where they can talk about movies, is dwarfed by the amount of people here who just go to troll people, and it's not worth it. It's just not. So that was right about when After Dark started. I kind of looked at that as my Hail Mary, and it worked to a degree, and it's still working to a degree. It's fine. But after about 3 to 6 months of After Dark, I just said I committed to myself that I wouldn't tweet or post about movies for a solid length of time, and I didn't. And I haven't really looked back.
I think the last time I remember you tweeting about movies was Spider-Man: Far From Home, which that movie is great. Film Sword, if you don't like that movie, I'm gonna have to kill you. I just remember when you were tweeting, because I think you're upset with the community because there was just weird backlash about it that didn't make sense.
At this point in time, I've reached the point of distance that I can talk about movies again. And when I do, it's typically just because I'm looking at the dialogue and being like, y'all aren't listening to each other, and like, you're not listening to yourselves. And it's fine to like or dislike something, but do it for reasons that matter. Don't up things just to suit your own narrative, which is partly because I was guilty of that, which is why it annoys me so much. But I've kind of I've realized that as much as I will always love movies, and I'm currently going through. My partner hasn't seen a lot of very foundational franchises, so we're binging a lot of them.
Fast
Which
Five,
is why if
got
people
it.
go into my letterboxd, they'll see a lot of like, we finished Fast, we finished Indiana Jones. We did Harry Potter just now because I had never seen the last two.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a fake fan. Remember, like I don't know movies. We started Jurassic Park, but then we quit after Lost World because we couldn't take it. And we just started Mission Impossible a couple nights ago. So like,
Oh, that's a fun one.
Oh, I'm excited! I cannot wait because I haven't seen Fallout yet. I've seen all. I've seen. Yeah, I know. That was right. I told you I stopped. Like I was just like I had my A list and I was overpaying for A list because I wasn't seeing enough movies.
You only have to see 3 a month.
I know. I wasn't even
Or
doing
2
that. I was
IMAX
still burned
screens.
out. Remember,
2 IMAX.
the last year that I was super involved in movies, I watched 200 new releases
How did
that
you do
year.
that? I still don't. I if I get to 50, I'm so happy with myself.
Oh, it was to prove myself. Like it was literally just to prove myself. I didn't enjoy it for a lot of the time, but I wanted to win, and so
That
I
big old ego
did.
stroke. That big old
Yeah.
ego stroke.
Yeah, and it's such a dumb reason to stroke your own ego, spending 400 hours of your life watching mostly bad movies. Uh,
Oh,
no offense to people who still
expensive
care
too.
about that, but
That's
yeah.
an
Oh, I
expensive tenure.
if Movie Pass didn't exist, that would have been thousands of dollars.
Oh, that's
Rip.
right. You know what's great about
Yeah.
Movie Pass? It works for my theater that's like literally right down the street, and it's not an AMC, it's not a Regal. It's called Good Times Rich Theaters. I don't know if they have one over where you're at. But it is like a old school style theater. Like everyone is dressed up. They have like old popcorn machines. But when you walk into the actual theater itself, all the seats are like reclined. Like it is so nice. And Movie Pass worked for all summer. And I was never more at peace. Because that was for me, I went into this time because I think I left the community at this point. I don't think I ever remember like making an announcement. But I left the community because due to other reasons on different channels. And my senior year was just me and myself. And I did this thing where if you're familiar with like the high school system, you can do something called dual enrollment, where practically you take off your last 2 classes of the day. You get to leave early. You get to go home, eat your own lunch, and then you have the rest of the day to yourself until you go to school. And introverted Evan found himself, believe it or not. But yeah, I get it, and it's a really weird struggle whenever like you try and like actively go to watch movies, because you have to be so conscious about it. You're like, I'm gonna go watch this movie right now, versus like, okay, let's go see this movie. You know, it's like 2 different mindsets you have to put yourself into.
And looking back, and this is where I stop using specific nouns and I start being a little more vague. But when I left the group, the company that I was working for at the time and trying to build up, and stopped writing constantly and stopped getting everyone around me to write constantly and doing
got it. It took me
5 podcasts a week. Yeah, I know. I'm glad people have forgotten, honestly. I realized how much pressure I was putting on people to fit into the same mold I was trying to fit into. And how much I was using people, honestly, to stroke my own ego. Because I was so excited by what I was building and so excited by how it was growing and successful that I started seeing people who I considered friends as commodities and word counts. And
where
I
they
realized
become
what that was
assets
doing
to
to
you
me.
rather. I just went through, I can't get too deep into it, but I just went through this thing with other people where I'm like, I want us to be friends first, not work associates. Why is this a thing?
Especially if I'm not fucking paying you. Like
yeah,
like
and that's the thing. I'll be blunt and I'll be honest right now. Like with the PJ Campbell Network, the whole idea was we wanted to pay for this system because you and I have talked about the StreamYard is great. Like that, I showed you like all the little kinks and stuff. It's super dope. So we'll also pay for that, and then after that, once the summer's over, the summer of quarantine, because believe it or not, Johnny, I'm gonna have to go back to school.
It's opening? It's not gonna be online?
Florida State's gonna be opening.
Oh, it's Florida. Yeah, I forgot. Okay. It's true. Like y'all in Georgia, man.
I know. So we've all talked about like we're gonna figure out what those funds are, but we're gonna make sure that like it's not a thing about like I deserve this or we deserve this, but like it's like an actual like group decision, you know.
Yeah.
So something I realized, especially now, is like once money is involved, the game's changed, and you've had an experience with this that's
Yeah.
a little different, that's a little more stressful. I don't expect you to get into it, but like you get the idea. Once money is like an idea, ooh,
People change
ooh,
so much, and it's so, I understand, because I was so motivated by it. I would look at our algorithms and I'd look at our analytics and I'd be like, oh my god, this is great, we're gonna start making money. And it stopped mattering that I was like messaging people at 2 a.m being like, why the fuck haven't you sent in an article yet? I stopped realizing that I was turning into something that I hated,
yeah,
uh at the expense of everyone around me. So leaving that behind, and it was, I described this to someone a couple weeks ago, and it was kind of a eureka moment for me. But I believed for a very long time that I believe everyone's voice matters and everyone has a platform and everyone should use it well. But I believed that my platform mattered more than it did, and I believed that if I were to stop doing what I was doing, like things would crumble, and people with talent would stop using it, and people would have
right.
no direction, and being able to let that go and realize that, it's been 2 years since I've done a podcast and the world went on. It's been really good. It's why this is actually this has been fun, and it's why I'm realizing how much I miss this, because I don't care how many people watch this.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm here for the fun of it, and I'm here because like this is a conversation I've wanted to have on camera for a while, and just being able to get this off my chest has been nice. To be able to publicly apologize to some people in this chat for the way I used them, because I was trying to succeed.
Also,
And
I didn't expect this to become an exposed Johnny Youngblood stream, but here we are. I'm okay with it.
I'm
Here
down.
for it.
Like I've I've reached the point now where like I feel bad, but I'm not
Yeah.
ashamed anymore of it. Like I know what it took to get me to where I am now, and I'm so at peace with where I'm at right now that looking back, I recognize to be seen as a success drove me to stop caring about
Yeah.
things that actually mattered. So it's why I'm now thinking about diving back into some sort of a sphere again, because my priorities have changed and my outlook has changed and my talents have changed, and I'm curious what that's going to mean, because I think I wasted a lot of time, but I learned a lot. Sometimes at other people's expense, but I learned a lot.
I mean, talking about changing though, so you used your talents because you did learn a lot, and you are in theory talented when it comes to group community management, community leadership.
You are in theory talented is one of the favorite things anyone's ever told to me. That's great. I love that.
I mean, when you look at it on paper, that is true, but it's in theory. You
Yeah,
really
no. Yeah. Yeah.
talent's very gray. It's not black and white.
Yeah.
So, but you've used what you know and your knowledge to actually go into other groups,
Yeah.
different other communities to help like advocate and help other people advocate. Can you? Because I don't even know a lot about this. Can you tell me like what you've
Yeah.
been doing?
Sure. So for the last 2 years, I've been working honestly harder than I did even in the movie talk days, which is insane. Uh, on a group that up until last week centered around another large podcast, but this one that was about like social advocacy and growing in spiritual development and emotional development and political
Yeah.
development.
Well, and also to
Uh,
be, I don't know how much you can expose about your own personal idea, but you're fairly religious, but not in the ways people would expect.
yeah, that's a fair way of putting it. Like I'm very, very passionate about my religious and spiritual ideas, but they're very unorthodox.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm I have conflicting enough beliefs that I can kind of mad if I keep talking about it.
Guys, it was a good run. He froze again. He's still frozen. Uh, do 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 do. Do 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 do.
Hello.
All right, you're back. I
Hello.
definitely wasn't singing
Friggin'
Cantina while you're gone.
StreamYard being like, hey, your internet connection sucks was just that was great.
No, hey, while you're gone, I sang Cantina. I was do. So they got to hear my rendition of it. But yeah,
So what you're
so
saying is that any chance of y'all getting ad revenue because Disney will come for you.
bruh, no, they wouldn't be able to recognize my voice. I'm out of pitch. I'm out of beat. It's fine. So you're now. Can you reveal what groups you're in?
Yeah.
Is that okay, or are you like someone who's working behind the scenes?
I can reveal it, but at the same time, we also just privated the group and made it invisible for search terms. So I guess if anyone's looking for a spiritual community where you learn about ways in which typically Judeo-Christian, but also Hindu and Buddhist and Muslim and Jewish ideologies can influence social change, I've got a group I could add you to, but you can't find it anymore because we decided that we'd gotten big enough that we didn't want to grow anymore.
Wow,
Refer
that's
back to our previous
huge.
conversation. We hit 9,000 and we realized that at that point in time, like there was just no, because when you're running a group that's about like spiritual development and about emotional development, and people keep joining who don't have the context of the conversation you've already been involved in, it keeps setting the clock back, and it keeps like any discussion that you've already had, suddenly you're going back to old discussions and digging up old traumas and old pain again and again and again, and in the end it's just turning into a cycle that never stops. So we stopped letting ourselves be found. So it's called Litcom. If anyone's heard of a podcast called The Liturgists, it was originally from that. They're one of the biggest like spiritual podcasts out there, so it was kind of fun when we were affiliated, but we realized that just
when no longer affiliated.
Yeah, as of a week ago. There's some restrictions that surround being tied to a corporate entity.
Yeah, I
That
know what that's
means
about.
that exactly. And we reached the point where we realized we could, if somebody involved in that corporation fucked up, you can keep calling it out till kingdom come. But if you continue to support it and continue to feed into its system, especially for free, you're just enabling like toxic fandom, which is something that we both can probably understand. So we decided that we had a community that we liked, and we were learning a lot from each other, and we were helping to, as hard as I worked on getting people to see indie movies 3 years ago, I'm now working on getting people to read books about queer rights and about advocating for social change for people of color. And it's so much more rewarding than getting people to see Columbus, despite Columbus being one of the best movies ever made. So yeah, it's been great, and I'm loving it.
What's already interesting is your approach is completely different from what I know 3 years ago. It's no longer about growth. It's about, wait, where can I build something where people are comfortable?
Yeah.
And where it's just enough people where it makes sense for it to be a bigger community. And
and I'm coming at this conversation after, like, we just got rid of the branding, we just distanced ourselves. It was not as divisive of a decision as we thought it would be, because most people were on board, but like I've received hundreds of angry messages over the last couple days, and like getting to the point where that doesn't affect me anymore, and where I can like interact but also have it not kill me inside it was like the nail in the coffin for me, saying, yeah, the old Johnny is mostly gone. So it's been really nice.
Straight from the Johnny. At the time I thought I would like to meet Kanye. See, he invented Johnny, but it wasn't any Johnny. All right, I'm sorry. You're never gonna hear that ever again. But I think your approach has grown. The idea of growth behind a movie group is weird. The behind growth of a community in general is really weird.
Yeah,
because that means you're adding to a herd that already survives amongst itself. And if you're like even get down to like the most bare basic, which is the most, not to at anyone or whatever, it's the most right wing ideologies, get it down to the basics. If you add more sheep to your herd of sheep, they're going to be harder to control.
And worse than that, like from the start, the reason why I wanted to be part of leadership teams of Facebook groups was because I recognized the way that it gave community to people who didn't have it anywhere else, and the way that it gave people a place to feel like they belonged. But I didn't realize until I learned the hard way that the larger you get, the more groups just turn into cliques. And after a while, the entrance point for a community gets so high that no one can reach it except for people who are already there.
Hey, how many group chats were you in? How many?
I counted how many I'm in right now, and I'm in 30. And I've left probably 40 or 50.
How are you in 30 group chats right now?
I have most of them muted.
Yeah, I mean,
I have all notifications on my phone muted. Like literally
I have every
like
single.
The only people who can get a hold of me on an immediate basis is my partner, my boss, and my parents. Everybody else is on do not disturb. Period. And it took a long time for me to deal with the fear of letting people down because of that. Until I realized that if I'm not in a good emotional space to respond to somebody, fuck if I care if I get back to them on time. Like, it's better for both of us if I let it sit for a day. So yeah, it's been nice.
And you know this, I have ADHD, ADD for anyone who doesn't know. I feel like I say this all the time, but it's a cycle for me. And it was a big deal. Like the group chats freshman year of freshman year of college and junior year of high school destroyed my academics.
My God, yes.
Because instead of like focusing on what I needed to, which school's a different conversation for a different day, but instead of focusing on what I needed to, focus about who was saying about what at 2 a.m. for whatever reason, petty reason that someone was upset. Something I now have learned is like every probably 3 weeks, I end up leaving a group. Not a group chat, because do I really need this? Is this something I really need? It's one of those things that people, and it's so funny how people get so upset about it too, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Vehemently, if you were to leave a group chat I was in, I feel like people would actually take really big offense to it, which would make no sense because you're on your own.
Well, I have them all muted as opposed to leaving them.
So
to be fair, there are probably 10 group chats I'm in right now that I would leave if I felt like it wouldn't cause controversy, and the last thing I want is people realizing I'm there. I think most people have assumed I've left them already, and I'm just still kind of there.
Right.
There are some that I'm part of and some that you're part of with me that I still check on a fairly, once every couple. I'm in 3 chats with Ryan McKenna that I really like that need to be more active. We all have lives. But they're great. They're fun. Talk about, but not I don't care who's somebody else. People can work that shit out on their own. I don't need to get involved.
Guys, the block
button. And if it's not something that I legitimately care about.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's so easy. Or even unfollow. I went through and unfollowed 100 people on my feed yesterday or the day before, and it was great. Because
you didn't unfollow me, did you?
No, you're still there.
Yep. Perfect.
You haven't posted fake science, so you're good.
Not yet.
If you start trying to convince me that masks contribute to heart failure, then I'll mute you. But
oh my God.
Yeah. I don't want to talk about coronavirus.
Yeah, my friend John, group chats need to be muted. Both insult chats that were in John are muted. That's all I'm gonna say. Moving on. If there's any questions, we'll get to them. Johnny, are you here with us? He is. So.
Oh yeah, I'm here.
We're gonna get to the idea. the last segment of the show is called Famous Last Words. It is literally the name of the show. So now in any situation, or if you're about to die, or something that you just want to live by, what do you think your famous last words would be? And then afterwards, I'm going to give you my example. So then I can just shake your boots.
So you're saying, what would my last words be if I had to pick my last words right now?
Well, it would be in any situation, or if you're about to die, or even just words to live by. Like anything. You can be as abstract with this as you want. This is a controversial segment, by the way, so welcome to the club.
I've got a general idea of something that I tweet probably every month or so. Your voice matters, earn it.
Okay.
Because that's become my guiding principle, is that I care about what everyone says and I care about like what I say, but I also recognize that I have to live up to it.
Get good. You have to, like, as weird as it sounds, you have to get good and actually understand your place. You know, you have to figure out why do I matter here, and why do other people think that I could matter here. And
yeah,
it's okay to feel important, don't get me wrong.
Yep.
But
oh yeah,
figure out why.
Yeah, you, to a degree, you have to feel important to say something, because
yeah,
there are a lot of people who shout into the void for no reason, and I don't want it to be that either.
Yeah, and make what you say mean something, unless if it's a meme. If you're posting a shitty meme, do it.
Yeah,
always post your shitty memes,
but recognize the difference.
Yeah, please.
I think that was something that really infected movie conversation when we were trying to live in that world, was people couldn't differentiate between a meme that they were posting just for fun and a serious conversation.
I'm actually looking through my Twitter right now to see if I've posted anything meaningful. And it's funny. So I had this conversation with Max, Maxwell Dodd. He's a friend on the channel, one of my favorite people. But practically, I posted something about The Rise of Skywalker because I'm doing a rewatch because we're watching The Last Jedi on Fridays, obviously. And I practically said, I'm watching the prequels right now. Rey being a Palpatine actually might be one of the worst cases of revisionist history to date. And it makes no sense for Sidious's arc in the prequels. That tweet got 1 retweet and 9 likes. The very next tweet I posted about the Avatar: The Last Airbender. Full context, I have seen the show, but it was like Saturday cartoons for me, where like you don't really follow the story. You're just there for that 30-minute adventure.
Yeah.
I tweeted, I just finished season 1 of Avatar: The Last Airbender. The 2 things that have stuck out to me so far have been the world building, the character arc / building, and the score. I've heard this is the weakest season of the show so far, and this gets me excited for what's in store. 1 retweet, 26 likes, and 10 replies, all positive. It's something that Max has said, that like the currency for Twitter right now is negativity, which I don't know if I completely agree with it, because, and maybe I'm the exception, and that's maybe where my voice leads. It's just more positive in general. But like I've beginning to learn, like when it comes to like important stuff, like whenever you tweet positive things, more people are going to be receptive towards it at the end of the day. Maybe I'm wrong.
I mean, the last time I tweeted about Avatar was when I tweeted that Aang is a simp. So,
look, I got to the episode. I don't want to say too much. I'm on season 2 now. I got to the episode where we don't know if him and Katara kiss. We don't find out in that episode.
Yeah.
Because it lights up. But also, Katara's a simp for Aang. Like, let's not lie.
Ryan rightfully pointed out to me on Twitter that they're children, and I should probably, but...
Oh, Aang's what, 10 and she's 12? No, he's 12. And she's like 14. It's fine. It's fine. I'm not mad. It's fine. Thank you, Ryan, for making me feel awful about this.
They are relatively close to your age, so it's more fine for you.
I know. I'm 16. Leave me alone. Also, Ryan says, depends what Twitter you live in. Political Twitter is a literal dumpster fire. I only follow 3 political things: the New York Times, the Washington Post, and I think
InfoWars.
Patton Oswalt, because I just love Patton Oswalt.
I love how you consider Patton Oswalt political.
He tweets political things all the time.
He does.
You get the idea. But my famous last words, since I went off on that tangent, I'm sorry that you have to sit here and listen to me ramble. Was I was texting you, I think one day, and it was through all this.
Yeah.
And I said, let's try and bridge this gap. Let's actually try and like put these communities together.
Mm-hmm.
Those were my famous last words, because that went to shit. It was awful. Bad idea. Never combine groups and people. Like the episode in Avatar when these two tribes didn't like each other, and Aang had to lie to make them like each other.
Yeah,
he had to lie. And if you know anything about me, I can't lie. It's just like not fun.
Something I've learned, and something that's been hard to reconcile with my personality, because I love bringing people together. Like, I love when I can like look at the group and be like, yes, these are different, but they're getting along. And I'm realizing it doesn't help. Sometimes it really doesn't. Like, sometimes it's better to let people have their separate identities and let people be different and be able to personally celebrate both, but not expect everyone else to.
Right.
And I've realized that a large reason for why groups don't get along is some degree of trauma and some degree of hurt. And just because I'm not part of that, and just because I haven't felt that, doesn't mean I can expect everyone else to be at the same place I am with different communities. And I have to be able to respect that. And I have to admit that communities are a lot bigger than just how I see them. And being able to step away from that it's been meaningful.
So that kind of wraps up the show. Thank you so much for being on. I'm definitely I'm just curious to have you on again, because I want to see if we can approach this conversation in a bigger sense versus how small we got, which is fair. Like, you and I definitely wanted to talk about this. I love going after our community, even if that makes me a dick. It's what I'm best at. So with that, where can the people find you online? If you want them to find you online. I've learned some guests don't like that.
Yeah, it's really simple. My Twitter handle's on the screen, so just type that in. That's really the only place where I'm super active is Twitter, or I can't get to. DM me. There's one person in chat right now that I don't know. Let's chat. It's fun. I am so glad to be able to be back kind of in this space again. I've talked a lot of shit tonight, but I also deeply love and deeply fondly remember a lot of really great moments. And a lot of the people in this chat right now played integral roles in me getting there, from fucking Ryan Snelling convincing me to go to therapy to Mike and Ryan. Yeah, he did. That was a big moment. To dude, Mike and Ryan being
sometimes he comes in so clutch when you don't expect him to. Yes, I call him Snowbot. Yeah. It's true.
But no, y'all are great. Evan, I give you a lot of shit, but you are truly one of the people I'm the most happy that I've been able to meet through all this. And I'm just glad to be here, and we'll find out where it goes from there.
If you do anything, if I'm not on your episodes, I'm gonna have to kill you. Just so you know.
I don't think I'm to the point yet where I'm going to create something, but I might
say that
collab with somebody.
You say that, and then all of a sudden you start making content like literally next week. You're like, I don't want to be on everyone else.
It wouldn't be out of character for me. It wouldn't be out of character for me.
Because you get so tired of being on other people's stuff. You're like, let me just do it my own way.
Yeah.
But with that, you guys can find me right there. Shout out to Chris Clark for these graphics, by the way. Like, this show doesn't have to look this good. Like, this show doesn't have to, but it does, and it's all because of
making both of us look good. Is like Chris is a miracle worker.
You guys can find me here at DeGraff Live. Did I steal that from Mark Ellis? I don't know. Answer that question yourself. And then make sure you guys are there Friday.
Hold on. Before we move on, can we make fun of Evan for the time was really cool and go to school on Halloween dressed up as a niche movie character in the Schmodown? Like, wasn't that funny?
Dude, at least I have the guts to do that. You know what? I had the courage to go out there and literally dress up as Mark Ellis for a character day.
But the easiest way to get chicks is to say that my name is Baby. That is definitely like the best way to make friends and influence people.
Dude, you know the funniest part? My dumbass didn't date anyone in high school except for like 6 weeks freshman year. That's it.
You were so busy in group chats. That's all.
You're not wrong. You are not wrong.
I know I'm not, because I did the same thing. Like, I get it.
But also, Rosika goes, Evan, just tag him in a public tweet to DM you like you do with Harloff. The worst part is Harloff follows me on Twitter, but I know he wouldn't check his DMs if I didn't publicly tweet at him. Can't see all. You can't tell me I'm wrong. But
he used to follow me back when, hot take, people don't know, I was the first fan he asked to be part of the Schmodown.
No way.
Mm-hmm. It was scheduled and everything.
What happened?
I was supposed to be teammates with a certain figure that got me too'd a few days later.
That's gonna end the show. I hope you enjoyed it. Be here for this, guys. Be here for this. If you don't, I'm gonna have to kill you. Be there for it. It's gonna be great. And with that, thank you so much for being on, Jonathan, and I'll see you sometime soon.